Hello everyone. So I've had my Samsung Galaxy S3 for just over a month I think now, and I wanted to really let you know how I'm getting on with it. You'll have seen from the other reviews I made over the sort of week I got the phone that I was really impressed with it. So am I still impressed with it? Well, yes, in a word. It really is an incredible piece of kit. It's still as fast and responsive as it was on day one when I got it. I'm actually running a custom ROM on here now. I've unrooted the phone, got a custom ROM on there, so it's got a few extra features. Makes my life a little bit easier, which is the whole point of rooting. But it crucially kept TouchWiz 5 on there, which I'm actually enjoying quite a bit. I think it's a bit nicer than stock Ice Cream Sandwich, and quite a bit nicer than Sense 4 on HTC's phones. Just the layout generally, you know, the way everything functions is very slickly done. I don't personally find TouchWiz 5 particularly slow or getting in my way at all. I actually find some of the features it has quite helpful, you know what I mean? So for instance, one of the more useful ones I seem to use more often than not, just having that translate across so that when you want to delete something, just drop it down there. Sure, not quite as easy as Jelly Bean, flicking away. There's T-Mobile, my bill's now ready. Let's not have a look at how much I spend on my T-Mobile bill. It's going to be a lot. And you know, the quad-core processor, I know there's been some debate between you know, those of us on the international phone and some of our cousins in America. You know, America has got the dual core, we've got the quad core. Performance-wise, I've had a look at videos from the dual core. Everything looks about the same. You can't say that Samsung kind of undersold those people who got the dual core. Frankly, they're just as fast. If you happen to be in the international territories and you're getting the quad core, you're not going to feel like you've been hard done by it all or anything like that. You know, those 4 cores within the Samsung Galaxy S3, I believe, are clocked individually at 1.4 gigahertz. That's an awful lot of power per core, and it doesn't output a particularly large amount of extra heat. What I've noticed is this area around here does become particularly warm, say after 20 minutes worth of gaming, you know, not just like a 2D game, but something that's really going to stretch it. You know, so like Grand Theft Auto, any of the other really intensive 3D titles, you really can sort of feel it starting to warm up. But, and crucially, at no point does it ever feel too hot to hold. Or to the point where you're kind of like, ooh, no, that just feels wrong, that's bad, my phone's going to explode or something like that. Never feel that. You know, unlike certain HTC phones I'm not going to mention that got so hot I couldn't hold it. You know, fault maybe? Well, not from what I've seen of HTC phones, they run hot. Be interested to see how Tegra 3 changes things. You know, oh, interestingly, Tegra 3 versus my Galaxy S3, borrowed one of my mate's phones, can't remember what it was, it's got Tegra in it. It's the 1X, whatever the hell they call it, their new flagship anyway. Borrowed my mate's phone, didn't unfortunately have my camera with me at the time, and we put the two head to head. Yeah, the Samsung smoked it. There's no two ways about it. Tegra looks great, don't get me wrong, Tegra 3 looks beautiful, but when it comes to pushing raw pixels, the S3 wins. And if you happen to be rooted, and you visit XDA, developers.com, have a look around for a set of patches basically for your phone that allow you to run. It basically allows you to trick your phone into thinking it's a Tegra 3 device. I've not got it set up on here at the moment because I've just done a new ROM. But the idea is that if you've got a Tegra app, you know, a particular game that's THD, I think, as they are on the Play Store, what you can do, trick your phone into thinking it's got an NVIDIA processor inside there, and the game runs with all the lovely effects turned on. And actually, it's not that slow. You know, you feel that you're dropping maybe 5 to 10 frames a second off 60, maybe 50. Some of the more intensive games are a bit more of a drop, but crucially, it works. And it's, in essence, just emulating Tegra 3, but using the processing power of quad-core Xenos processor on the Samsung. Check it out on YouTube as well, there's some really great videos. But like I say, have a look for that. Really tickled me. You know, just because someone says, oh, that only runs on THD. Yeah, right. If you've got enough processing power, anything can be emulated. Still waiting for a PS2 ports, Dev. You know, come on, let's have a PS2 emulator sometime soon. We've now got oodles of power. If we can do it on the desktop, sort of, we can probably do it on a phone by now. You know, I'm not going to say too much about Samsung's built-in apps. They're all right at the end of the day. You know, S-Voice, I don't like it. I've made that clear in my previous videos. It's a really piss-poor implementation of voice control. In actual fact, having got a Galaxy Nexus with me as well, the Google Now voice service is like 1,000 times better than S Voice is here. Sorry, Google Now I think it's called, or even Siri. You know, connecting voice apps, it's not just enough to return a line of text or drop something into a calendar. It really is about being contextual. And I think Google's absolutely nailed it with Jelly Bean. Speaking of which, Jelly Bean, not coming yet for the Samsung S3. Some of the devs have managed to get up a ported ROM at the moment from the source code, but lots not working, things like radio and stuff like that, so I'm still running Ice Cream Sandwich at the moment. Rumour has it Samsung are not going to be hanging around to upgrade their flagship phone. It's likely we will see Jelly Bean officially released for the Samsung S3 around the same time as the Galaxy Note 2 is released, which is currently pegged at the end of August. That is a phone I am very, well, phone, phablet, whichever way you go. Is it a phone, is it a tablet? It's just ginormous. I'm very interested to take a look at one of those when they come out. Let me know in the comments if you're also interested in seeing how the Galaxy Note 2 stacks up. It may very well be the next one I purchase after grabbing Google Nexus 7 tablet later on in the month. But, you know, at the end of the day, if you go out and buy the Samsung S3 now, you are getting Jelly Bean. This isn't a case that, you know, in 6 months' time they'll say, oh, sorry, we couldn't port it, or we couldn't get it running, or we couldn't get all our rubbishy extra apps we wanted to stuff onto the phone, so we're not bothering to port it. Your phone's obsolete. No, no. The Samsung Galaxy S3 is getting Jelly Bean. It will receive it in the next couple of months, and it will be fully ported. Whether you choose to use TouchWiz 5 or whether you stick on another ROM from a developer, you know, that has any of the other launchers like Go Launcher installed, that's going to be entirely up to you if you root your phone, bearing in mind validates warranty. But, you know, at the end of the day, this is a sound investment. This is not a Nokia Lumia 900. This is not a phone that is obsolete a week after it was released to market. I mean, come on, Nokia, Microsoft, blimey. I mean, way to put a hole in your customers' willingness to part with their money, eh? Instead of putting a hole in their pockets, you simply put a hole in their ability to even pay you. Who is going to buy a phone that is effectively obsolete the week it was released? In fact, actually, it was obsolete before they even started manufacturing the damn things. They may as well not have bothered. Why didn't they just skip? Anyway, I'm going off topic again. So anyway, back on topic now. One of the things I absolutely adore about the S3 really is its screen size. I mean, to begin with, I was sort of following some of the rumours and people saying, oh my god, it's a 4.8 inch screen, how's that going to work for people? I had a look at the Galaxy Note and I thought, blimey, 5.4, 5.6, that's a big screen, that's difficult to hold. 4.8, wow, that's going to be tricky. But actually, the great thing that I think Samsung have done on this phone is this. It's not how big the phone is necessarily, but how thin it is. Because actually, if you have a device that is both big and thin, so your hand fits it more naturally, you're not losing as much into this piece of your hand, actually you can have a bigger screen. And the rest is just down to really good engineering as to where you put your buttons. For instance, the home button is not at the top on the S3, it's on the side. And it's not at the top of the side where you might expect it, it's part way down. So that actually, when you hold it in your hand naturally, look where your thumb is. It's always by the button. For most people. Even if you've got small hands, it's still going to be an easy reach. Gave this to my wife, she has tiny hands. She finds no problem with the S3. And ladies, you know, if you're looking for an alternative to the iPhone 4, 4S, and you're looking for a phone that, you know, is good feeling in the hands, good for girls, good for ladies, you're not going to go far wrong with the S3. Like I say, wife has small hands, she has no problem. Somehow there's double entendres all over that, guys. Feel free to point them out in the comments. You know, like I say, lovely, lovely piece of engineering work on that. One of the things I really like, and I'm sure other S3 owners might attest to this, is you don't necessarily press the button when you turn your phone on. You kind of roll your thumb across it is how it feels. It's like easier if you kind of just roll your thumb, like this. Just pick it up and just go like that. Just like that. You don't press it, just roll your thumb across it as you pick it up. Yes, it's a button, but I've just found a better way to optimise your experience. Roll your thumb across it. Try it. Try it now if you've got an S3. How much better does that feel? Awesome. That's how it feels. Okay, so onwards, the camera in the S3. Alright, I will say that the one thing I was moderately disappointed with was the low light performance of the S3. It's good. It's good, don't get me wrong. But it could be a bit better, and it's the flash that lets it down yet again. Sorry, the LED, the light bulb, the little piece of crap they stuck in the front of it that does absolutely no good at illuminating a scene over about 3 meters. However, it will completely blind anyone at about 2 foot away. So, you know, one day they will either put Xeon Flash on absolutely every phone camera, or they will come up with LEDs where you can actually adjust how much power goes to them so you can adjust the brightness. Would be useful. Or even a sensor, an optical sensor. How about this? An optical sensor that knows how far away the subject is and so doesn't blind them. Awesome stuff. But anyway, I digress. 8 megapixel camera, and it does a fantastic job. The more light you have, the better the pictures look, obviously. But that low light performance is a bit flaky. However, what I did notice is the low light performance when using video is really good. And actually, I think personally, video is how I'll be using this phone mostly. Yeah, it's nice to quickly take a shot, you know, being able to wrap it up, do rapid burst shots, etc. But what I love about this camera is the quality of the video. It's smooth. You know, with the camera the camera stabilization turned on, it does create a very stable picture. Even if you're kind of walking, you can kind of, yeah, it's all right. Do you know what I mean? You don't tend to get too much warp either, which is a common factor. If you've ever watched a YouTube video where Google have attempted to fix your video for you, to fix the stutter, etc. Unfortunately, it does tend to create quite a lot of warp, and that is where kind of the middle of the image almost looks like it's bulging, and the outside parts of the image are kind of almost moving independently of the rest of the picture. And that's basically caused by the image stabilization attempting to lock everything in. Obviously, if you're recording it on the camera in real time, at the time you shoot it, much better than doing it in software later, and it does a good job. App-wise, I've not had any problems with any apps, other than a couple of games that obviously weren't really designed for the power of the S3 or for its screen resolution, and you get a few forced quits in there. It tends to be with some of the older titles, some of the older sort of not very good titles which haven't had big budgets thrown against them, etc. Can't really name any names, mostly because I can't really remember any. You know, install it, doesn't work, get rid, etc. One thing I have to say though is watching video footage on this, browsing the web, just generally doing any operations with it, anything that you kind of, you know, on other phones where you've kind of gone, well, I would do that, but it's not exactly the best experience I've ever had. You know, it takes you 3 minutes to start your camera and take a picture, for instance. Or, you know, firing up your web browser means sitting there for a while it thinks about opening a web browser, and sitting there thinking even longer while it actually downloads something from the web, etc. I've never found that with this phone. And I always find that kind of the general operations with Android devices in general is very fluid. You know, things are logically laid out. You can move between applications using a long press. And so you have actually got true sort of multitasking going on, really. My apps are still running in the background if they need to, perfectly happily. The system will manage the memory beautifully fine for me. Yeah, let's fire up a quick video. I think I've actually got my screen rotation lock on at the moment. There we go. I've actually just popped that video out. There you go. So that's my cat using some cutlery. You know, when did you ever see a phone that could simply pick up a piece of video and then display it on a desktop? Well, a phone top, as it were, within the UI. And so you can carry on watching it, and that video will actually float over absolutely anything. So let me just find something a little bit longer, because it's quite a cool feature. You know what I mean? Oops. Click that out. Fire up web browser. It's still running, look. You have to admit, it's a pretty impressive site. We've been used to doing that on the desktop, not so used to doing it on tablets and phones. Now it's very, very possible. The technology in question that's doing all of that, some developers came up with it a while ago, and they've used it to some really, really clever effects. So for instance, having a terminal screen. If you happen to be a Linux user, you like using root, then you can have a terminal that constantly lives on your desktop. It's not a widget, it's actually a live running app. Likewise, I've seen one guy do like a live wallpaper connected to his camera, so that as he's walking down the street using his phone, he has a little overlay which shows him what's in front of him to stop him falling over things and bumping into old ladies. All of this is now possible because of the power of these phones. Front-facing camera. I've used it a little bit. Mostly I've been using it for Google Hangouts at work. For instance, I was in London a couple of weeks ago and the team needed to speak to me. They were having a meeting, and the big problem for them was I was on my phone, but they actually needed to show me some stuff, and they needed to kind of have that little bit of face-to-face time. And so they just threw me a Google Hangout. I saw it on my phone. My phone basically rang, and I was like, oh, Google Hangout. Hit the button, and there's my team, and I'm suddenly talking to them, and I'm sat on the Mall. And what was really impressive is, I was in London, and you know what the call quality is like down there for data, lots of congestion. But also, it was quite noisy, and they could still hear me, see me, and we could have basically a 4-way video conference, and it worked. It didn't suck. You know, it wasn't Skype bad. It was really, really good. And, you know, for me, that's something I've never really experienced before with a phone. And with a lot of technology, it rarely just works. And I think a lot of that comes down to Google's absolutely fantastic play and Samsung's of a great mixture of good hardware and good software at the end of the day. Because, you know, you can have a great piece of hardware, as we've seen in the past, and an awful piece of software. You know, awful software running the phone, well, the whole thing's a disaster. And likewise, beautiful software, awful hardware, and the same is true. What I think we might have here, and I think what will be reinforced with Jelly Bean, is that this is the package, as it were. You know, quad-core processor, 1 to 2 gig of RAM, depending on if you're 3G or 4G. Our 4G cousins in the States need that 2 gig of RAM there because of the data speeds they're dealing with. Plenty of buffer, basically. That's the other reason why dual-core tends to be over on the international phones. Because they're using 4G there, the dual-cores tend to work better. There's currently no quad-core processor package which can integrate with a radio chip from Broadcom, I think it is, or Qualcomm, the other company that manufacture them. And so in essence, if you want 4G on your phone, then dual core is the only way to go currently. Which is why, you know, Samsung have made so sure that their dual core processor is as good as the quad core processor, no matter what territory you're in. You know, when you talk about having this 2 gig of RAM, guys, in international in the US markets and South Korea, I'm afraid most of that memory is going to be taken up with your downloads. So don't get too excited, will you? If we ever get 4G in this country, and if it doesn't interfere with every digital broadcast going, we should expect to see similar levels of performance and similar memory bumps in the next generation of phones from 2014. Most likely, though, they'll be at 2.5 to 3 gig of RAM by that point, as the 4G speeds really ramp up. You know, for me, personally, it's not a bad phone as well. You know? I mean, the hallmark of any phone is, can you make a call and can the other person hear you, and do you get cut off? Getting cut off tends to be a network-related issue. I've not had any problems with the network here. Admittedly, I'm not in a big city. I'm in a reasonably large town. This is currently running on T-Mobile. T-Mobile, for me, I've always had good reception from T-Mobile wherever I've been. In general, I would say that your download speeds and Wi-Fi speeds on the S3 are around the best out there. So I know I've spent most of my time sort of waffling, and all you've actually done is just stared at this beautiful, beautiful screen. Well, sorry about that, but, you know. You know, at the end of the day, we've got lots and lots of other reviews on the channel which help to show you what the S3 is capable of, etc. There's not an awful lot I really want to show you that's new. I just wanted to talk about how I'm getting on with this device. Because it's rare that I find myself so utterly enthralled with a piece of equipment. I got the Galaxy Nexus and I was like, yeah, that's nice. That's a really cool phone. It's missing a few things though. And I got the S3 and I've hardly put it down. And ask anyone who knows me, normally I lose interest pretty quickly. Give me a week and I'm already looking at the new thing. Ooh, the Galaxy Note 2. Ooh. Admittedly, I'm actually quite interested in the Galaxy Note 2, but purely because, is it a phone or is it a tablet? Is it? Somebody must know. It's a phablet. But really, you know, the Samsung S3 is a lovely piece of kit. The Galaxy Note 2 fills a very particular niche that I'm probably the sort of person who would gravitate to. Because I don't make an awful lot of phone calls, and it does fit in your pocket. So, but you know, for now, I'm loving the S3. I'll be keeping my S3 regardless of if I get a Galaxy Note 2. What will probably end up happening is my wife will end up stealing the S3 from me because she's coveting quite hard, even though she's got my G-Nex. You know, I just absolutely love this phone, and at the end of the day, there is only one thing that really counts, and that is how you yourself feel about the phone when you use it. So, do you know what? If you're sitting on the fence and you don't know whether to get one, in the UK, and I don't know what it's like in other countries, you generally get a cooling off period. So if you order a phone over the telephone or internet or what have you, you have a 7-day cooling off period. And that basically allows you to give the phone a try. If you don't like it, you send it back and they cancel your contract. That's a pretty good way if you're either sitting on the fence, your contract's up for renewal and you don't know whether you want to go for the S3, Get one, give it a try. If you don't like it after 3 or 4 days, ring them up and just say, please take this phone away and send me something else. I believe 9 out of 10 people will simply stick with the S3. That's my honest belief. And do you know something? One last thing before I go. One last thing. I am not paid for this review. You know, I am not paid for the love I am giving to this phone, and nor do I want to be. And that is the Samsung Galaxy S3, and that is my 1 month with the Samsung S3. It's still a lovely phone, guys. You know, normally I get bored. I'm not bored. I'm still loving it. I'm loving it.